Depending on the ventilation mode you select, you will use the next two knobs to set the pressure control level above PEEP or the pressure support level above PEEP. The settings then appear on the bar graph as a pair of diodes. If the pressure support level is higher than the control level, both pairs start flashing, alerting you to adjust the settings. Another pair of flashing diodes indicate the actual pressure delivered to the patient. The left one shows inspiratory pressure, and the right one shows expiratory pressure. Note that these may separate during the breathing cycle. For all modes of ventilation, use the third knob in this field to set PEEP. This value appears as a pair of diodes on the bar graph. The last knob in this field determines the effort the patient must make to trigger a breath. You can set it to operate as either a flow trigger or a pressure trigger in all modes. Flow triggering uses a small, continuous expiratory flow. When the patient inspires, the flow is diverted to the patient, decreasing the flow returning to the ventilator. The expiratory flow transducer senses this and transmits a message to the gas module to open the valve. The sensitivity of the flow trigger determines how much flow must be diverted to the patient to initiate a breath. For flow triggering, set the knob within the green portion of the scale. Use the red area for the highest degree of sensitivity. This highly sensitive range varies for each type of patient. It can be as little as 0.7 of a liter per minute for adults, 0.3 of a liter per minute for pediatrics, and only 0.17 of a liter per minute for neonates. At 0, the patient has to inspire the full expiratory flow to trigger the ventilator. To reduce trigger sensitivity, turn the knob counterclockwise into the pressure trigger area. This requires the patient to inspire the expiratory flow and create a pressure below PEEP. The pressure trigger sensitivity is always relative to PEEP. For both flow and pressure triggering, a stacked pair of flashing diodes at the bottom of the bar graph indicates a patient-triggered breath. Finally, in this field, you can read 4 measured values in these windows. The peak window displays the measured value of the peak pressure at the end of each inspiratory time for each breath. This value corresponds with the right diode on the bar graph. The mean window displays the calculated mean pressure value in each breathing system, based on the actual pressure for each complete breath cycle. In 2 modes, volume control and SIMV volume control, plus pressure support, the pause window displays the pressure at the end of inspiratory pause time period for each breath. The end expiratory window displays the pressure at the end of expiration for each breath. The 4th field on the control panel sets respiratory patterns. Use the first knob to set the number of ventilator breaths per minute, from 5 to 150 in CMV or controlled mechanical ventilation. This number appears in green in the second window in this field, while the first window displays the total number of breaths, preset plus spontaneous breaths, in red. Remember, red numbers indicate measured values, green numbers indicate preset values. The second knob sets the inspiratory time percent between 10 and 80% of the breath cycle time. Notice that this knob has safety catches at 20, 50, and 70%. You'll use the third knob in this field in 2 modes, volume control and SIMV volume control plus pressure support, to set the pause time between 0 and 30% of the breath cycle. Note that there is a safety catch at 20% to remind you that expiration must be more than 20% of the breath cycle. If the result of your setting for the inspiratory and pause time percentages is more than 80% of the breath cycle, the pause time is reduced, as you can see in these 2 examples. If this happens, the yellow light at the control knob flashes to alert you to adjust the settings. When you have set the first 3 knobs in this field, the resulting calculated time in seconds appears in the 3rd window. Use the 4th knob in this field to set the time period during which both flow and pressure increases at the beginning of inspiration to the levels you have already set in the airway pressure field. The range is from 0 to 10% of the breath cycle time, with a safety catch at 1%. If you set this knob to 0, flow and pressure rise instantly. Increasing the time may make the start of inspiration softer and more comfortable for the patient. In the two volume control modes, volume control and SIMV volume control plus pressure support, setting this knob causes the fourth window in this field to display the calculated flow rate in liters per second. You will use the last knob in this field in the two SIMV modes to set the number of mandatory breaths per minute between 1/2 and 40. If you set this knob to a value equal to or higher than the value on the first knob in this field, the CMV frequency of breaths per minute, the yellow light at the SIMV knob will flash to alert you to adjust the setting. If you are in an SIMV mode, setting this knob causes a second window in this field to display the set mandatory frequency of breaths per minute, not the CMV frequency. Before we leave this field, it's important to note that you can make the windows here display alternate values. To do this, go up to the mode selector field and cover two touchpads, one after the other. First, the standby pad, and then the pad for the mode that you are in, SIMV volume control, for instance. When you do this, here is what you will see. The second window displays the breath cycle time in seconds, alternating with text. The third window displays the I to E ratio, alternating with text. And the fourth window displays the flow rate in liters per minute, also alternating with text. At the same time, the yellow lights at the control knobs for these settings flash to alert you that the displays have changed. To return to the regular displays, cover the standby touchpad again, or just wait 1 minute.